So hello, everyone, and welcome to the University of Calgary's Ask a Student webinar. Before we get started, I would just like to let you guys know that today's events and this meeting in general is going to be recorded. So if you do not feel comfortable with having your face in the recording, that's totally fine. Just feel free to turn your camera off. We're all super excited that you guys are here, and we hope that by the end of the chat today, you'll know a little bit more about what life is like for you and what it could look like for you as a UCalgary student. My name is Nicole. I'm a current student here at the university, and I'm also a full-time co-op student with the undergraduate recruitment team, which means I have the pleasure of leading lots of campus tours. That's my main focus with the team. And leading lots of tours for prospective high school students and helping organize lots of really great opportunities like this for you all to ask all of your questions and hopefully get all the answers you need before applying. So I'll be helping facilitate the discussion today. That'll be my main role, and I'll have the floor with Prithal, Josie, Fatima, and Lauren, who are your panelists. Fun fact, 3 out of 4 of these students are all campus tour guides. So if you guys ever do decide you really want to visit the campus in person, you'll probably be seeing their faces or even mine giving you guys a tour throughout the spring and summer. But before I ask our panelists to introduce themselves, I do want to acknowledge that the University of Calgary, which is located in the heart of Southern Alberta, both acknowledges and pays tribute to the traditional territories of the peoples of Treaty 7, which include the Blackfoot Confederacy, comprised of the Siksika, the Piikani, and the Kainai First Nations, the Tsuut'ina First Nation, and the Stoney Nakoda, including the Chiniki, Bearspaw, and Goodstoney First Nations. Additionally, the city of Calgary is also home to the Métis Nation of Alberta, Districts 5 and 6. So even though we are gathered virtually here today, I did just want to take the extra time to acknowledge the land that we get to study and learn on and feel, express my gratitude and appreciation for the lands that I'm joining you from today. I'd also like to let you guys know about what we've prepared for you this evening. So now I kind of get to chat about what today's going to look like. We'll start by having all of our panelists introduce themselves, their programs, all of the different things that they have done on campus. During this time, I would ask that you guys please keep your mics muted and to save your questions until the end of the presentation. You'll have lots of time to ask all of us all the questions that you have in mind. After they've all introduced themselves, I will open up the floor to you to ask any of those questions that you had in your brain about what life is like as a University of Calgary student. During the Q&A question, you'll be invited to write your questions into the general chat or to raise your hands. From then, we can call you to unmute any of your mics and ask your questions. This is a student panel, so if you do have any questions regarding admissions requirements, I'll be putting our Meet the Recruiter page links as well as our admissions widget in the Zoom chat towards the end for you guys to access and save at any point. With that, I will actually have Josie starting us off. She's one of our art students here, but I'll let her explain a little bit more about what she does.
Hi, everyone. My name is Josie, and I am a current student at the university. I'm going into my second year of Law and Society here, which is super exciting. And I'm hoping to pick up a psychology minor in the fall. And some stuff about me is that I really like pink. Pink is my favorite color. I used to live in South Korea, so I grew up there and I can speak conversational Korean. I love reading, crocheting, and I love volunteering. Like Nicole said, I am one of the campus tour volunteers, so hopefully you'll end up seeing one of us around the campus one of these days if you ever decide to visit, which is super fun. Um, yeah, I guess that's a little bit about me. I'm currently the Vice President of Events for the Sociology and Law and Society Association, which is one of the clubs on campus for the Sociology and Law and Society students. And I'm also president of the Anti-Racism Movement, which is another club that we have here on campus. And like I said, I'm a campus tour guide, and I also do a lot of volunteering with the Children's Health Advocacy Club as well.
All right, so we're gonna move on to Fatima. She is from the Haskeen School of Business, but I'll let her explain it a little bit more about what she does on campus because she does quite a bit.
Thank you. I just wanted to confirm if everyone can hear me and I sound perfectly fine because my throat is hurting a little bit. But a little bit about myself. I am a fourth year student. My major is supply chain management and I'm taking a minor in drama. I know both of them don't go hand in hand because they're just completely opposite from each other. But drama was something that I was super interested in because I love acting and I have done like a couple of plays as well on campus. I absolutely love socializing. Like I talk so much and I that's just something that I love doing, and it's ironic that my throat is like hurting while I'm talking, and it's something that I do love doing as well. I love painting, drawing, and everything artistic. And I am fluent in four languages as well because I am from Pakistan. So my parents are completely like from opposite sides of Pakistan. My mom's Pashtun, so I know Pashto, and then I do know Punjabi, and then English and Urdu. But yeah. So far, I feel like I've been doing like a lot around campus because I absolutely love just keeping myself busy and involved on campus. I've been a part of three clubs so far, and I do want to add another one on my list of all the clubs that I've been a part of. So I've been with CUS, which is basically closely related to the business program as well. It's called the Commerce Undergraduate Society. I've been a part of Muslim Students Association and Pakistani Student Society. I am Pakistani, so I mean that is a part of my identity. And for PSS, which is Pakistani Student Society, I am the president for it. I recently got promoted, and this year we are aiming to have a bunch of events. If you guys are interested in coming, feel free. It is so good because it does align with the SU policies as well. So it's both on campus and off campus. A little bit about PSS is the reason why I'm a part of it is because it is a charity and fundraising event club as well. So we kind of just like raise funds and whatever charity money that we can raise, we donate it through Islamic Relief. Other than that, I've been volunteering on campus with like Haskane as well. I've been volunteering for open houses. I did campus tours last year. I do campus tours with my club as well, and for orientation as well. So I will be an orientation leader this year as well. So all the new students coming in, I will most probably see you guys there.
All right, moving on to Lauren now. She is in the Faculty of Science, but again, I feel like I keep continuously saying this, but she'll get a chance to introduce herself a little better.
Hi, everyone. Just like Nicole said, I'm Lauren. I'm going into my fourth year of neuroscience at the university. And a little bit about me. I'm originally from North Carolina, right on the beach. So if you guys are familiar with the Outer Banks TV show or The Summer I Turned Pretty, those shows are filmed where I live in my town. So that's a little bit of a cool fact to help, get across the North Carolina thing. I also really love music and going to concerts, something that might not be obvious just looking at me. I am a pretty big heavy metal fan. So every summer, my family and I we all go to this heavy metal festival in Ohio. So that's kind of neat. So yeah, that's just a little bit of a quick get to know me. As far as my involvement on campus, I have really enjoyed different mentorship programs. So this first one that you can see here is the WISE mentorship program that stands for Women in Science and Engineering. And what's really cool about this mentorship program, which is a little bit different from the Faculty of Science program, is that you can get matched with a mentor that's actually an industry professional. So for example, if you really wanted to get exposure in different fields of industry. For example, a lot of science students end up finding that industry is their path rather than staying in academia, or some people, don't want to go into medicine or healthcare or something like that. So it's a really great opportunity to learn about the different jobs that are out there for people with science backgrounds. So personally, I've had a lot of success with this, just kind of growing my knowledge of what my degree can do. And yeah, I have done the science mentorship program, like with the Faculty of Science as well. So I've been fortunate enough to be a mentor and a mentee there, so I can really speak to both experiences. And I have also been an orientation leader. And if you guys are going to be with us in the fall, I will be one of the senior science orientation leaders as well. So that'll be super fun. Hope to see you there. And like Nicole mentioned, I am one of the volunteer campus tour guides, and I've really enjoyed that part of my student life journey this past year.
All right, lastly, but not least, we have Prithal. So he is another one of our Haskine School of Business students, but last student that we'll kind of introduce here today.
Hello, I'm not the best at introducing myself because whenever someone asks like fun facts about myself, I just have to say that I'm just fun, there are no facts. But if I have to like summarize it, I am a second year marketing student, haven't been here for too long. I'm an international student as well. So I'm originally from Bangladesh and I've been here since around January 2023. So involvement on campus, all the panelists so far have like very stacked resumes. Mine's gonna be a bit more underwhelming, but basically, I do campus tours like almost everyone else here, and I am the VP outreach of the debate club, so I know how to talk a lot, and that's kind of it. I guess that's most of my accomplishments. I went to the finals for my first ever debate tournament in university, which was great. And then I lost, which was also super fun. And yeah, so fun facts, I've lived on residence. So like I kind of know like a lot of fun hangout spots in and around residence because for some reason we just didn't like being comfortable with like leave the comfort of residence and just find like the most uncomfortable place to hang out in. So yeah, I guess that kind of summarizes most of it. Oh, there's more. Okay, yeah. So I'm in Haskine, and Haskine has a lot of really cool clubs. Some that I'd mention are BPC and AIM, which is the Business Pride Club and Alliances in Marketing. They also have like I'm in marketing, so that those are like the ones that I am like a bit more inclined to going to the events of. But then there's like a lot of other ones, and they host a lot of really cool um networking events where you can like network with students who are in U of C, in SATE, in MRU, but also network with employers that are like that like will come to you and like ask for your LinkedIn and stuff, which is like really cool. So I think yeah, you can read those. That's what I've done at school so far. And I'll be a fall orientation leader as well, like everyone else here. So yeah, I guess that concludes it for the most part.
All right, so now that all of our students have introduced themselves, I'm gonna start opening up the floor to all of you guys to ask genuinely any questions that you have about student life here on campus. Before we do begin the Q&A portion though, I'd like to give that other quick reminder that while this is a student panel, so we are all UCalgary students. If you do have any questions regarding admissions requirements or would like to know a little bit more about the process of becoming a student here, I will be putting in the chat very shortly our admissions widget and our Meet the Recruiter page links for you guys to access and save so that you'll have all the information you need to kind of get your process started. So I will stop sharing my screen here and I will open up the floor to everybody. So just got a question, and it's somebody asking a little bit more about how much support can you expect here on campus? So I'm assuming this would be more in regards to student services. Lauren, do you want to talk a little bit more about it? The student is interested in data science, so I assume you may have a couple more bits of information about different support that science students can get here on campus.
Sure. Yeah, I see the question here. So, just as far as like general support goes in the Faculty of Science, I have had nothing but fantastic experiences with the Undergraduate Science Center, or the USC. So that's our faculty specific place where we go for advising. So you can have one-on-one support with the academic advisors, and that whole team is there to support you. This is actually perfect timing because I just came from an advising appointment myself this afternoon. I have really been able to make a very personal and well-founded connection with the advisor that I have chosen to meet with through my entire degree. I even started having phone calls with her about course planning when I was still a senior in high school. So I think that there's a lot of value in making a good relationship with a advisor, no matter if you're having issues in your degree planning or not. As far as going a little bit more specific to this question, data science is a new program. However, that does not mean that you will have no support. In neuroscience in particular, we are also a small program, not necessarily as new as data science by any means, but we do see a lot of turnover in our degree structure, so I can kind of relate to that. And also a lot of programs, when they're new, are small. So I can speak to that small experience. And I think that there is a lot of support, because with these new programs, they're pioneering like a new field, right? So there's obviously a reason why this degree is coming up, and somebody saw a need for a degree like this. So that means that there are a lot of great executives on the board of directors. It's not quite a board of directors, but the board of people that are in charge of designing your degree. And those program advisors and program directors will become known to you in your orientation if you choose to pursue that data science degree. And especially in the early years of a program, those advisors are more than willing to meet with you one-on-one as well to discuss how you're doing in the degree, what you want out of it, if there's anything that you want to see modified about that degree. So I would say that you can expect a lot of support. That doesn't mean that you won't have to go out of your way to ask for it, but I definitely think that you will find it if you ask. And what would the learning experience be like? I think you can expect it to be at the same level as any other degree, no different being that it's new.
Alrighty, thank you. So I just got another question from a student asking a little bit more, since we do have a couple of international students, how you've been finding expenses. Have you found it like, just talk a little bit more about that experience. So that can either be any of the international students here.
I mean, Lauren, do you want to take that one as an international student, or should I?
I think that here, you go ahead and give a little spiel. I'll add if I think you missed anything. I doubt it.
Okay, so if you're an international student, it kind of almost entirely depends on like your country's currency and like how that fares with like the Canadian one, because like for me, like with Bangladeshi taka, like 1 CAD is like 85 taka, so it's like kind of a bit more expensive for me. But then for like my Indian friends, it's a lot cheaper. And then it kind of depends on where you're from, but generally Calgary is a lot more affordable than other cities in Canada and like the States as well, from what I've heard. So yeah, it's not too bad. Like it's quite livable, especially if you compare it to like Vancouver and Toronto. Calgary is a lot more affordable, I'd say.
I think I agree with that.
Hey, another question that I've gotten, which Josie, if you want to answer this question, it's just a student asking for a little bit more clarification on what a major and a minor is.
Okay, yeah, for sure. So with your major, it's kind of like your major program, I would guess. Like it's sort of like the main focus of your studies. But let's say you're interested in doing something like psychology or sociology and your major isn't any of those things, you're able to pick up a minor program. So you're also doing studies in that program, but not as many. It's not the same sort of full course that you would have if you were doing a major, but you would still be able to get certain jobs and certain opportunities because you've been able to add that minor onto your program as well. So it's kind of just like, I would say, broadening your overall like degree basically at the end when you graduate, so you can go into a little bit, you have a little bit more wiggle room with jobs and everything once you are done with school.
All right, perfect. That was a great answer. Does anybody have any other questions? If not, I do have a couple of extra ones pulled up here. Yes, Fatima.
I just wanted to add on to that. Keep in mind that if you are interested in having a minor, your major consists of like 40 courses, which is then 4 years of your undergrad. But whereas your minor, it's only 10 courses. And those 10 are not just any courses that you want to pick in your minor. It's like the specific ones that meet the requirement as well. It is a great helping like an addition to your major. And usually when you are picking a minor, people, your advisors do recommend you pairing them together that go well. So like, let's say if you're taking business and you know that you want to work in the marketing industry, right? Then you can minor in marketing as well, and you can major in uh, data entry or business analytics or something like that. Usually you pair it up. With me, mine is not paired up in any way whatsoever. I did it solely because I loved my drama classes, because for drama, it's not just acting, it's also like pretty hands-on stuff. Some of the courses were very like sculpture making or stage decorating or stuff like that. It's all included. So it's just what you pick. Either you're adding it to enhance your major, or it's just something that you rather do and you can't really make a career out of, but you still do enjoy doing it.
All right, thank you. So if nobody has any further questions at this time, oh, I think I just saw a question now. So not really an admissions question, just seeking some advice. If a program lists the competitive admission average, what should a student aim for? I would say usually we recommend that students aim about 5 to 10% higher than whatever admission average is shown on the admissions widget or in the view book. So I can't talk a little bit much more than that, but I would say about 5 to 10% more, you should be in a pretty comfortable place, and that is usually what we recommend. But if nobody has any other questions besides that one, I will go ahead and ask a couple of questions here. So, what is everybody's favorite class that they have taken? And do you guys want to talk about it a little bit more? So Fatima, if you would like to start us off.
Of course. Am I just gonna answer the question that's in the chat box?
I would say answer this one currently. The one that I just asked. So what's your favorite class? We'll let a couple of these ones roll in. You could just let us know just a touch more about what that class actually was.
Okay, so my favorite course by far, I think I have two. One was a sculpture making class. The entire course itself was just making a sculpture. There were no quizzes, no exams, nothing. But throughout the entire course, we had to make one massive gremlin sculpture that represented ourselves. Now, like gremlins are basically like they're not pretty to look at, right? But basically the whole idea behind a gremlin sculpture that represented us was showing what our insecurities could be, but make it prettier. And I wish I had pictures of it, but for that course we made like a pretty like decent sized gremlin, and there was like a whole showcase at the end where all of the students displayed their gremlins and they talked about them. So it was just a very like it felt a very personal, it felt like a personal experience as well, getting to know your classmates like that as well. um it was just like it was just an amazing class, plus because there was no stress of like quizzes and finals. It was just one big project. I loved it so much. The other course that I absolutely enjoyed was a BTMA course. Um, it is like a business course, but it's basically like all about computers. Like, what is the internet? And it was just amazing. They talked about like AI, they talked about internet, and it's just something that you kind of like already know, but there's just so much detail and there's so much depth to it that you think you know what the internet is, but you really don't. You don't know like the behind the scenes of all of that. So I think I really enjoyed those two courses.
Alrighty, who wants to go next? Or actually, we will answer some of these questions here. So, Fatima, you may have to talk again since Marina had just asked in the chat, what kinds of stuff do you do as a supply chain management student? I personally actually don't know too much about supply chain management, so I'm very curious to hear.
Yeah, so supply chain basically is like the type of field that works from raw goods to the final product. It's like the whole process, like the whole chain itself, all the way from getting the raw goods and then making it into a final product that you basically hand to the customer. So it's the entire process of it. There are like little parts to it, like the logistics, making like shipping, delivering, making the goods, manufacturing, all of that stuff. What I basically like, so the major itself covers all of it, but if you want to do like your masters or something like that, then it kind of goes in more detail with it. The courses that they offer are more like the operational um side of like supply chain. So more so like um if I need something in this amount of time and I have this other project due as well, when is the fastest that I can finish both of them, but also in time? So it's basically like that. It's in a way, in a nutshell, it's basically cutting time for yourself while also maximizing profit. And they teach you everything around it. Like, how can you bake 10 cupcakes and 10 cookies the fastest way possible, but also saving money and making a profit off of it? It's very interesting. And the entire major is all about that.
Yeah, that sounds really interesting. So got another question here. Maybe to any of our students who have lived in residence or are currently living in residence, if you guys know the better answer to this, and maybe I do since I haven't, during the 1 month break, do we still get to eat at the cafeteria, or in our case here, the dining center, or do we have to cook in residence by ourselves?
I can take that one if no one else wants to answer, but yeah, you would have to cook because like the dining center would be closed during winter break. But like there's like a lot of facilities for that, and Mac Hall's always there, so like you wouldn't have too much of a difficult time doing that.
I do want to confirm one thing. Um, the person asking about the 1 month break, are you referring to like Ramadan or like just in general when like
The winter break?
is it? Oh, okay.
I would assume it'd be the winter break, but we can always get some confirmation. While we're waiting for that, I do have another question. So obviously a lot of you guys, well, half of you as a student panel are a little bit in your younger years on campus. You're going into your second year, going into your third year. So I do have a question, since you'll probably remember a little bit more than maybe some of us in a little bit further along in our degree. How did you find the transition from high school to university? Did you find it difficult? Did you find it easy? What was difficult or what was easy? And do you guys have any tips for any students who want to know a little bit more about what that transition is like?
For me personally, university, even to this day, is a lot easier than high school was. I think it might have something to do with the fact that I was in a very different high school system. Like I was under like the Cambridge curriculum. I'm not entirely sure if that's a thing in Canada. But yeah, I don't know. I really liked university because it was so much easier, and most of it is just like multiple choice. So you still have like at least like a 25% chance of getting something right. So I found it super easy. I don't think that's the case for everyone, but most of my friends have also like said they've found university easier, and there's like more sources of help as well. And it's just like since you're studying a degree that you actually like and not a random bunch of subjects. So I think even if it's a bit more difficult, it's a more like it's more satisfying to study. So yeah, overall, from what I've heard, most people do enjoy university more than high school.
And then Josie, I saw that you were going to chat. Do you have something different than what Priscilla said? Have you also found it relatively easy? What was that transition like for you?
Yeah, for me, I would say it was relatively easy in terms of academics. I think in high school, I developed good study habits, but I know that's not how everyone sort of is in high school. So I would recommend trying to figure out like what type of studying works best for you because it can be really challenging during your first year because you're getting sort of all of this like new information thrown at you, a bunch of different courses thrown at you, and all of the stuff that you need to know and like tests and everything. So sometimes studying and learning how to prepare for tests well can be a little bit challenging if it's not something that you're completely used to. Um, for me, my high school, I would say was, I guess, a little more rigorous. So we had tests pretty often, but I know like for some public schools, that's not always the case. Sometimes you don't have tests all the time, so you don't always need to be studying or like constantly studying. So I guess getting used to just sort of always being on your toes, I guess, and making sure that you know certain things. Because there have been some times for me when I would sort of slack off when I didn't have a test, and then I wouldn't study, and then the test would be super close, and I would have so much to learn, and it would be really overwhelming. So I would say definitely building good study habits was super helpful for me. Um, Personally, I really like using active recall as studying. So making sections of what I know and what I don't know and writing down what I know in my own words, and then sort of going over what I don't know and then rewriting what I just learned in my own words again. That I found really helpful as well. So yeah.
Great, thank you. And since we have lots of you guys doing lots of extra things onto your degree, that's not just clubs or different mentorship programs, but academic things. So minors, embedded certificates, what was that process like?
I can answer to that. So one thing that I learned, and this was by going to the advisors over and over and over again, my first and second year, because I was like, I need to make sure that I get this right. Because I am the first daughter who is studying abroad, basically, right? So there's no one telling me, like navigating me in this entire process. So I want to make it right. And one thing that advisors tell you over and over again is that no matter where you want to end up with your career, they they really don't care about your grades. Some do, some don't, right? But what they do care about is you. if you are a bookworm, then they would rather pick someone who is a bookworm, who knows how to talk, who can make friends, and who has hobbies as well, right? Because if you only study and you're like basically an academic weapon, right? They would rather pick someone who is easier to talk to and communicate with rather than someone who's just stuck in their books. Which is the biggest reason why it is so like important throughout your university, like the 4 years of university that you have, your entire bachelor's undergraduate degree, right? They've pushed you to join clubs, they push you to do something, even if it's something really small. Find what you like doing, even if it's just dancing, because there's dance clubs on campus as well, right? Or even if it's just bird wa- even if it's just coffee making, because I remember last year during clubs week there was a coffee making club as well. It's just something so small, but it makes a big impact on your resume as well, because that is something that when a recruiter looks at while it's on your resume, they're gonna be like, I don't care about the fact that you studied, because everyone studies, right? But the fact that you have that on your resume and it says that you are a pro coffee maker, tell me more about that, right? That is something that they take out, right? And that is something that defines you. And it's not that hard managing everything. The whole transition from high school to university is just so much easier. Your high school, 'cause I moved here in grade 10, so I started high school here, and I was scared. I was like, I know for a fact that everyone's telling me that when I move to Canada, my high school is not going to be easy, it's going to be hard. High school is hard. High school is much harder, and the teachers in high school, they keep telling you that this type of behavior of you slacking, you doing this, you're doing that, is not going to be tolerated in university. Honestly, when you're in university, profs are just so much more lenient, because the thing is, at the end of the day, when you're in university, you're a grown adult, right? You should be responsible for your actions. You should know that you need to study and do all of this stuff. They're not going to be chasing you. They don't chase you. You are responsible for your own things. And then at that point, managing everything is just so much more easier. So joining clubs, working and volunteering and studying, literally all hand in hand. And it helps your resume as well. It makes it look A plus.
Right, thank you. Just received a question. So I think because we have lots of different faculties in here, I'm really curious to hear the different perspectives on what you would or would not need on campus. So the question is, what kind of tech or other supplies are useful to bring? Laptop, tablet, other? Does anybody want to chat about that, maybe in regards to their own faculty, what they have found useful, or even their own personal tips? Lauren?
I can kind of, first of all, excuse the yelling in the background. I am in the library right now, but hopefully you guys can still hear me. I would say that as far as what the standard is that I can see across most of the Faculty of Science, a lot of people have a laptop that they will take notes on during class. A lot of people, I'd say, choose one or the other, whether they like to take notes by like using a stylus on an iPad or typing notes. A lot of people find that they're just faster typing, so they use that option. So I'd say it's probably split 50-50 between people that type their notes and people who use an iPad. And then probably not very many people use paper in science courses, I find, just because there's a lot of diagrams that you need to be able to either reproduce or annotate yourself. So, and also colors are very important for a lot of the systems and processes that we like to fiddle around with. So I think that the actual pen and paper option is probably the least popular. I will say that I did all of first year on paper without having an iPad, and I got by absolutely, but I'm also I really commit to the paper person identity. So I was printing entire slide decks for each lecture, and obviously printing that much is not good for the environment, nor is it good for the budget when you're doing it as much as I was. So it got a little bit annoying, and then you also have to be putting everything in a binder and then hauling it around with you. So I think that's not the greatest choice. I think if you're going to be a pen and paper person, that you need to really develop your fast and concise note taking, because you will not have the luxury of having every single thing from the presented slideshow in front of you. So I would say that the iPad for me was definitely a smart move. However, I do incorporate paper in my studying with active recall, like Josie said. I think there's definitely a place for both. I would also say that almost everyone has a computer for just doing essays and things like that. As far as the specs of your laptop, I think that can really depend. I think you can get by with a lot less than you think. A lot of people I hear are like, oh, do I need the MacBook Air or the MacBook Pro? And I don't think there's really a deciding factor between the two. I have been in computer science classes now, and also heavier courses where you need statistics software, and that kind of software runs on anything, no matter if it's the Pro, Plus, Max, whatever computer it runs. So I think you can really be more versatile with your technology than you think.
Okay, thank you. Josie?
Yeah, I also just wanted to add, like I completely agree with everything Lauren said. A lot of students use a lot of like laptops or tablets. And from what I've seen with my friends who are in science courses, they tend to have one of those laptops that folds into a tablet as well. So it's kind of like a dual double feature type of tech. But I also think it's important to, at least for art students, to be mindful of the space that you'll have when you're in a lecture hall. Not all of the lecture halls have, a lot of the science places have like long tables, so you have more space to put things. But if you're in, let's say, like science theaters where you have one of those desks that pull out from under you and they're a little bit smaller, you're obviously not able to have like your water bottle, your computer, and everything on that space. So for me, normally when I'm taking lectures, I just have my iPad with me. Um, Thankfully, my iPad came with like a little keyboard with the case, so I'm able to just make it like a little mini keyboard moment. Um, but yeah, I wouldn't recommend, if you have like an iPad and a computer, to bring both unless you absolutely need to, because for some art students, you're not really going to have all of that space to have a bunch of things. So just be mindful of how much space you'll have, basically.
Right. I am curious, with Prethel and Fatima, do you guys notice maybe potentially within the different concentrations in the Bachelor of Commerce? So for example, Prethel, you're in marketing, and Fatima, you're in supply chain management. Do you think maybe you have friends in other concentrations or other programs in the Haskine School of Business? Do you notice that there is a difference maybe in the type of tech that is used? Yes, saw you nodding your head, but maybe I'll have Fatima answer first.
Um, so I have friends in finance, accounting, marketing, like in a bunch of like majors. It depends from major to major for sure. But I feel like with business, it's more so like we do have our labs, our computer labs. And majority of the software that we need to use for our assignments are already given to us, like free access in those labs itself. So if you need to do it, majority of our assignments are built in a way that we can finish it in our like computer labs, which is in Scurfield and Matheson. Other than that, even if you have like a old laptop and it works fine and you can use like Google Docs just so that you can do your PDFs and all of that, it is completely normal. It works, because one of the biggest mistakes that I made was thinking that I need an iPad, and I did not need an iPad, because I got an iPad and then I got a keyboard and then I got a pencil. We don't use it. And a lot of the softwares that we do need for our assignments, you can't download that on an iPad. So an HP laptop is recommended, I think, throughout Haskine. But I know for a fact that in finance accounting, OPMA, which is supply chain, a bunch of them, a standard HP laptop is what is recommended.
Okay, so I'll like add to a bit with what Fatima said, even though she covered most bases. So like in business, you kind of see like a whole like array of different things that students do. Because I don't think like most of our courses are that tech heavy. In general, it's mostly like you come to class, you pay attention, you don't always have to take notes. It's a lot more interactive. But some courses, especially with like the financial ones or the managerial ones, you would have to have Excel. So like MacBook probably isn't the best way to go for that. It's probably like HP or Dell or something to that effect. So yeah, for like MGST or like OPMA, things that you'd have to use Excel for, I would recommend having like a regular laptop that has Microsoft as like the software thing. But also like do not feel pressure to like use a certain device if you see other students, because I feel like note taking is such a subjective and personal thing. Like I, for instance, am a like paper person down to my core. Like I'll take Excel like formulas down on like a notepad and then use Excel for that. So like see what works for you, because like in my first year I'd like take my laptop to all my classes and like try to take notes, and I'm not the best at that. But then I realized that even if other people are like using technology, you don't always have to do that. Just do what works for you. Also, some professors don't always enjoy you having your laptop or phone out, so maybe be mindful of that as well. If it's like especially with classes such as like entrepreneurship and innovation or other ones that are a bit more interactive, like try to see what, like try to gauge what the professor wants and like maybe do that. But yeah, I think that covers most of it.
Perfect. Thank you guys so much. I have another question here that is kind of addressed to everybody. So that question is, what is your favorite thing about your degree or program? It can be a favorite class that you've taken, maybe. It can be kind of what have you enjoyed most learning about? Maybe you have a little bit of a chance to actually talk about what your program actually is about. Get to talk a little bit more about what you do on campus and kind of your favorite thing about it. So I'll have Josie starting us off. So what is your favorite thing about your degree or program? And just as a reminder, Josie is in the Faculty of Arts with Law and Society.
Yeah, I would say, with Law and Society, I think a lot of people sort of um like dumb it down to sort of just law and just like judges and lawyers and like attorneys and stuff like that. But it really is such a broad major. You don't have to do just like courthouse related stuff. And I really like how it's able to help such a wide range of people. Because for me personally, my sort of like end goal is being able to start my own firm that helps immigrants and other people of color sort of get the justice that they need. And I think it's just generally such a diverse sort of program. There's so many different things that I've learned so far, and so many different techniques and concepts and even laws that I hadn't even heard of. I've been able to learn in this class. So I just think that there's a lot of opportunities. It's not necessarily just related to the courtroom or becoming a judge, but you're able to help such a wide range of people as well. And I really like that.
Lauren, do you want to go next? What's your favorite thing about your degree or program? And another reminder, Lauren is in the Faculty of Science with neuroscience. So I'm really curious because it seems like a very interesting degree. So I wonder what your favorite thing is about it.
I would say my favorite thing, I have two favorite things. One's a little bit more concrete, and that is that we have quite a few required courses that do not really match to the traditional stereotypical neuroscience stream. So some of those courses include logic and computer science. And part of what I love about that, even though it sounds a little bit like a pain if you are a strict science student, is I feel like we get taught to think a certain way. And I think that's the same thing in any program, any degree, is no matter what degree you pick, you kind of get trained throughout your courses to think with a certain point of view. And I think that taking those courses, like logic in particular, that might even have been one of my favorite classes, is that you kind of just think about any sort of written language or spoken language just differently. And that's often something that's really important in science in general, is to evaluate how you are presenting an argument using data and science to the public or to your peers. So I think that's really unique, and that kind of breadth in our degree is what I really enjoy the most. I also really enjoy how personal our connections with our program directing staff is. I feel like we have a lot of support in the program, and I think that every time I interact with any of those team members, I really feel like someone's there to advocate for me, even when I feel like as a quote unquote adult, I should be totally capable of advocating for myself, which I always am. But it's really nice to know that somebody else is also fighting for you as well. And if it's a little bit more clear, I think that probably just a little bit more about neuroscience, I think that the main takeaway from the program is that it's a research-based program. So a couple of the really cool things that come with that are summer studentships are sponsored in part by the program and the Cummings School of Medicine. So that means depending on whatever research you want to do in the summer, you can get that paid for by the program, which is really wonderful. And we're really grateful to have that funding to us. And then with that being a research-based program, we also have lots of research opportunities within our regular coursework in our degree. So I just came off of a semester where I had a course that was an advanced neuroscience laboratory course. And almost every day I was dissecting a new snail brain. And I came into my tours shifts with a lot of cool pictures sometimes of what staining I had on the brains. And we had some really cool opportunities to do some neat things that I think are a little bit niche to neuroscience. So that would be my spiel on neuroscience.
Good. Thank you so much. Now I'll leave it to the last two Haskell students. So maybe I'll have Prithal actually start us off. So what's your favorite thing about your program within, which is marketing?
Okay, so I'll start off with something that's kind of a bit more broad and applicable to all Haskell students. The funding that we have is genuinely crazy. Haskell events have really good panelists always. Industry leaders come and just talk to us, which is great. The events are so well set up. You can attend an event for free, get a lot of free goods, but also get a lot of connections. So overall, in if you're a Haskell student, I think there are a lot of advantages with that. But also specifically for marketing, I feel something that's super subjective and I really enjoy it a lot is how fun the faculty is and how fun every single marketing student is. I think I'm funny, and then I enter a room full of marketing students and I'm instantly humbled. I don't know if you guys saw me just wave outside a couple minutes ago, but my professor just walked out with the funkiest green pants ever, and he is also a marketing prof. So I think marketing kids are just in general super fun. But another thing that I really like about my program is how the scope of opportunities you get from it, because marketing, it's you can go into traditional advertising, you can literally go into photography or something related to media and graphic designing if you are focused on that aspect of marketing. You can do social media marketing, you can do PR for companies, you can do PR for individuals like politicians and stuff. So if you have some political inclinations as well, you can always go into that lane. So I think in general, it's there's so many things that you can do. I personally don't even know what I want to do with it yet, but the choices are also intriguing. So yeah, I think those are some things that I like about my degree.
Great. Thank you so much. And then lastly, Fatima, with supply chain management, what's your favorite part about maybe that program in particular?
Well, my main reason for picking supply chain management was because of family business as well. And my dad is he has his own business, and majority of our family members, they do their own thing with businesses as well. And supply chain is something that honestly it never goes out of business. Especially when COVID hit, a lot of the industries kind of shut down. whereas supply chain did not, right? Because supply chain was the only industry, because they had to supply medical stuff, they had to supply like vaccinations, they had to supply um like the alcohol wipes and like whatever medical stuff that were needed, right? So supply chain itself, that industry did not shut down. It was constantly working. And for me, like job security is so important, right? I am not ready to take like a COVID hit. I am not doing that. But the other biggest factor was the fact that my dad has a degree in supply chain, and his dad had a degree in supply chain, and it's just something that I was like, I want to do it because it's just in my family as well. Other than that, I think the other main reason why I picked business was because I kind of did go from arts to business. In arts, I was doing economics, which honestly I feel like it should have been under business, but it's under arts. So I'm like, okay. But for me, I wanted to do business because there's this stereotype around campus about different faculties, and they say that Haskell students are basically just coloring books, right? So they're not studying. All you see them doing is coloring, like coloring books, which is in a way true. It is true. I was writing my OPMA final the other day, and like the prof who was making sure that we don't cheat. He basically said, okay, OPMA kids, you do your final exam. And then I don't remember what other course was also writing the final with us, but he basically pulled out like a bucket of coloring pencils and he was like, here, pick your own coloring pencil. And I was like, what course is that? It's just that in business, they kind of make you like a very, very well-rounded person. They are not book heavy. No course in, maybe like with an exception of like a couple, but majority of like Haskell courses are very, very interactive. Interactive in the sense where you're not like focusing on the lecture slides. You're not focusing on the written content, but more so like what the prof is actually telling you, and how you can incorporate those class learnings into your workplace learnings. It goes both hand in hand. And Haskell does provide funding for co-op as well. And that being said, a lot of students, when they do end up in co-ops, their co-op leaders are very, very lenient with your working hours and your studying hours as well. So it's a very like, I'd say I'm not gonna say it's easy, but it's more so it's fun. It's super interesting. It's fun. Like if you need a break from studying, go have like a networking event. Go join that. Go see recruiters. Go talk to them. See where when you talk to recruiters, you kind of like realize that maybe the path that you were thinking that you want to take, maybe that might not be the path that you want to take anymore, right? You might see a completely different recruiter and be like, you know what, his job seems interesting and that is what I want to do. I am a very indecisive person, and the amount of times I changed my like what I wanted to do within supply chain, I went from logistics to procurement because of how satisfied these like whoever shows up to like those panels, right? It's just like the fact that they're so satisfied with what they're doing. Haskell like brings you that. It brings you like people who are so happy and content with whatever they're working towards, and majority of those people are like Haskell graduate students, right? And they're in successful careers and they're all so passionate about what they're working towards, and it makes you passionate about what you're studying because you're studying right now, and in like what like in your second year or third year you will be going towards a co-op, and that's where you kind of like convert your classroom learning into your workplace, like you actually do the stuff that you learned. So I'd say that what I love about my major and my program itself is how it's not just book specific, but more so it's interactive. You get to talk, you get to socialize, you get to network, you get to work, and you actually get to use the stuff that you're learning in class as well, like hand in hand, like right beside each other too.
Yeah, so like the well-roundedness of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a really great answer. It does look like our time is up for this evening. I do want to thank each and every one of you for coming today. I do really And I'm sure we all really appreciate you guys coming in. We're hope to have answered all of your questions about what life is like here as a student and learning a little bit more about maybe some programs that you did or did not know about. If you'd like to reach out to us and any of our recruiters, don't hesitate to email us. You can find those email links in that link that I sent in the very beginning of this Q&A portion. So the Meet the Recruiter page, if you have any questions about admissions or kind of the application process here, there's the admission widget as well, and they will also have some contacts for you on that page. If you would like to schedule a meeting, book a campus tour, all of that information is found on the website. And yeah, thank you all so much for attending, and we hope you have a good rest of your evening. We do hope to see you very soon in any of our on-campus events or just around campus.